A Slow Fall by Mark Ayling. Narrated by Tom Fria. Forward. The gray waves churned, and a small boat struggled insignificantly shoreward. Alistair Duncan, still not fully recovered from the accident, was circumspect and worried. The wind flapped against his face like a trapped bird beating itself to death on a window pane, and sand snarled around his ankles. Margaret seemed oblivious to these omens as she collected shells in a plastic bag, crouching and straightening, her trousers rolled up to reveal a pale and stubbly skin that reminded Allie of badly plucked poultry. Seagulls squabbled amongst themselves and appeared beaten into the iron sky. Then, one by one, they spiraled down to land with a little jump. A red pinprick had appeared on Maggie's jacket and moved around annoyingly. Surely there weren't insects this time of year. Allie made to brush the dot away, but it scooted effortlessly over the back of his hand. He tried to pick it off, but each time his fingers fumbled and missed it. High up on the cliff, a man with an arm like a piglet squinted through his telescopic sight. In front of him, a book of handwritten poems had fallen open at the page, "Uncle Cyril and Auntie Phyllis were swingers." The scanning crosshairs momentarily paused to watch the seagulls leave muddy imprints, as primitive as bow and arrow etchings on a cave wall. Allie flicked at the red spot with ever more urgent motions, yet each time it rode serenely over his strokes, and the contempt on Maggie's face was obvious. The hat and scarf he'd carefully arranged that morning to keep the wind off his chest now made him feel trapped and unable to breathe. Suddenly there was the sound of a stone thudding into mud, except it wasn't a stone. Maggie stumbled, and her bag fell to the floor, spilling the shells she had painstakingly collected. A crimson worm emerged from her nose. It was the same color as her lipstick. She dropped to her knees. Allie couldn't work out what was going on. Should he get help? But there wasn't anyone around, just the sand that circled ever more frantically. As her eyes locked with his, he glimpsed deep within them dark, roiling waves, like the oceans of a fading planet on which the last solitary creature was dying alone. Chapter 1. The silver rods of rain relentlessly spun down the street like the spokes of a bicycle wheel, and businessmen dashed from doorway to doorway. The chrome rain splintered across their shoulders as if they'd collided and mangled with that self-same bicycle. The younger ones plowed forward remorselessly, with the strength and stamina of people who worked out regularly. Allie knew that was what fascism taught the world, that the physically perfect were pitiless. Maggie could be cold, too, even if she was on the dump beside. For example, when they passed a big issue seller, she would silently dare him to buy one and confirm her suspicions that he lacked backbone. Allie was attempting to hail a cab. Yet another one had swept past, and he turned up his collar so as to not let his frustration show. A bald man and a giggling blonde appeared next to him. They were drunk, and Allie had the impression they would make love later. She was pretty in an antidepressant-dependent way, and his baldness seemed to fit him like an overstretched swimming cap. Allie tried to picture them locked together, but all that came to mind was the image of a fat man on a unicycle. The unsteady progress and flesh folded over the frame like damp bedding put out to dry.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?